talks about the akhirah. That one also talks about
हाँ भाई थोड़ी देर पहले शुरू किया है बस मैंने क्या
19 वीडियो जो थी
नहीं
क्यों
वो अब करूंगा ना मैं
अरे यार क्या कर रहा था फिर तो फिर
माहौल बना रहा था
कर लिया साफ सफाई एकदम
हाँ कर लिया
चल बढ़िया
ये बता गलत तो नहीं कर रहा ना
नहीं भाई
मैंने
उसको
सोचा
खोल
भाई
के भूल जा
इसको हर दिन अब खोल के बस भूल जाऊंगा कि मैं हूँ यहाँ
हाँ भेज मत किसी को व्हाट्सएप पे छोड़
तो किसी को बता
अपने
मत
खुद
दियो
के लिए रिकॉर्ड कर रहा हूँ
हाँ हाँ शांति से बस
नहीं मैंने बताया
चल बढ़िया सब्सक्राइब कर लीजिए चैनल जब खोल फोन करने तो चाहिए इस पर देख लिएगा
हाँ हाँ ठीक एक चीज बता इससे कैमरा खराब तो नहीं होता लैपटॉप में
कैमरा क्यों खराब होगा
मतलब इतना लोड झेल लेता है।
हाँ भाई,
ठीक है सर, बढ़िया है।
कल आ रहा है क्या?
देखता हूँ, अगर टाइम मिला तो आ जाऊंगा।
क्यों आएगा?
वही तो सोच रहा हूँ।
कल यासीन भाई आ रहे हैं।
कौन सी ब्रांच है?
कंप्यूटर साइंस।
अबे छोड़ रहे हैं, मैं नहीं आ रहा।
हाँ, वो है एनआईटी से।
जूनियर है, जूनियर है।
वही बैचमेट है। नरेला इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ
है ना?
टेक्नोलॉजी, प्राइवेट कॉलेज है भाई।
वो हो गई अमेजोन में।
नहीं, उसकी 21 को इन्फोसिस की इंटरव्यू है।
किसका? सिस्टम इंजीनियर।
उसने सिस्टम इंजीनियर का दिया था, ठीक है। फिर उसने
हाँ
उसने बोला कि इन लोग का बहुत अच्छा गया था। टॉप के जो कुछ लड़के थे ना,
हाँ।
तो उन लोग को बोला गया कि आपको अब हम एग्ज़ाम लेंगे डिजिटल सिस्टम इंजीनियर के लिए। तो
अच्छा।
वो जो है डिजिटल सिस्टम
फिर
इंजीनियर के लिए फिर दोबारा एग्ज़ाम दिया, कुछ जिस दिन हम लोग का इंटरव्यू नहीं था, 18 19 को।
हाँ हाँ।
उसी के 1 2 दिन पहले
हम्म।
उसने एग्ज़ाम दिया था। उसी का आज उसको रिजल्ट आया है शाम को कि आपका हो गया वो।
हो गया।
इंटरव्यू के लिए 21 तारीख को इंटरव्यू देना है। तो वहाँ थोड़ा इंटरनेट की किल्लत
ओ,
रहती है।
कितने का पैकेज?
पता नहीं,
हाँ हाँ
6 लाख 6 से ऊपर ही का होगा। 6 पॉइंट समथिंग,
हाँ हाँ।
6.14 है शायद।
बढ़िया है भाई। अरे बढ़िया। वो चुप है। लो।
हाँ, पानी भर रहा हूँ भाई।
अच्छा, चल दोपहर से।
चल
ठीक है ना?
ठीक
ठीक है, अल्लाह।
है, अल्लाह हाफिज। एक बार बता मुझे, ये टू वॉचिंग क्यों दिखा रहा है? काट दिया, चलो कोई नहीं।
So, everyone, so now we are going to look at this simple problem of converting Fahrenheit to Celsius. And your task is to print this particular table in which you are shown temperature in two different formats. So this is the Fahrenheit format and this is the Celsius format, right? And you have to print this table, right? So you're not given anything, you just need to print this table, and the temperature in Fahrenheit goes from 0 to 300 Fahrenheit, and the corresponding Celsius temperature is not given, but you can compute this using this formula. So this is the formula for the temperature conversion, right? So again, we are going to apply basic concepts. We are going to apply data types, okay? And we have to use loops, and that's it, right? And the basic C++ syntax, right? So what we need to do, we can start with 0, and every time we can make a jump of plus 20 plus 20 plus 20, and for every Fahrenheit temperature we can generate the corresponding temperature in the Celsius using this particular formula. So for every line we will print two numbers. numbers. One is the temperature in Fahrenheit and the other is temperature in the Celsius. And we will be done. Right. So let's write this simple program. So you say, okay, the temperature in Fahrenheit is 0, the temperature in Celsius is also not known, so you leave it, and you can say while f is less than equal to 300. So what you can do is you can compute the corresponding temperature in Celsius. The one mistake that people will generally do is they will say, okay, 5 by 9, and you multiply it with f minus 32, right? This is what people are going to do, most people, right? But if you're new to programming, then you're likely to make this mistake, right? So remember, what we have learned is 5 by 9 is going to be an integer, and this 5 by 9 is going to be 0, so 0 multiplied by anything will be 0. So this is going to give you the wrong answer, right? What ideally you should do is you should first multiply 5 with f minus 32, and you should divide the final result by 9. Since this Celsius is not a floating point number, in that case you should take Celsius as an integer. So you can see this is an integer only, right? Okay, that was the only catch in this question. So once you know the value, you will print f followed by some space followed by Celsius, and you will update f. So you're taking a jump of 20 every time. So you can say f equals to f plus 20. That's it. That's the update condition, right? Right. So Once you're done, you will run your code and see the results. So let's run the code. Okay. So yeah, dot slash Fahrenheit to Celsius. So okay, let's just fix the new line issue also. Now it should be fine. Okay. So you get 0, minus 17, 300, 148, and let us match it with the given output. So it's correct, right? This is how you can print a simple temperature conversion table, and that's it for this video. Hi everyone, in this lecture we will learn more about conditional statements, that is else if, and else blocks. So we will start with a very simple example. Given a number, you want to check if this number is divisible by 2, right? So let's first focus on only on this part. So that you can check very easily. You can put a if block, if followed by round brackets, and here you will add the condition. If this condition is true, you will enter inside the block. The block is opened and closed by the curly brackets, and anything that you inside the block will be part of the if block. So you can say, okay, see out n is divisible by 2, and you are still inside the if block. Okay, this is also inside the if block, right? So after the curly brackets, the if block ends. But suppose this condition is not true. You enter number 7, 7 mod 2 is 1, 1 is not equal to 0. So you will come into else block. So here you will write those instructions which you want to execute when this condition is not true. So maybe you can say cout, it's not divisible. Okay. So as of now, let's run only this much part of the code and we will see what to do next. So let me say, okay, dot slash if else. So let me add a number 6. So it says 6 is divisible by 2 and we are inside the if block. And if I give 7, it's not divisible by 2 and we are in the else block. Suppose we also want to check the divisibility by 3, right? So the first thing that I can do is I can add a if block again, and this time I can say if n is divisible by 3, then I will say, okay, see out n is divisible by 3 and so on. So that's it, right? But uh, there is a potential problem in this case, right? If you want to check divisibility by 3, you could have done this thing, but let's see what is the problem here. So let me give a number 9. Okay, so let's build the code and let me give a number 9 now. It says it is divisible by 3 and we are inside the if block. This looks that the program is correct, but it is not. So suppose if I give you a number 8 in this case, right? So what do you expect? The ideally we should expect that n is divisible by 2. This should be the output, right? But let's see. It says 8 is divisible by 2. We are in the if block, but it also says it's not divisible and we are in the else block, which means this else is also executed. The reason why this happens is because the if else block is independent of the above else block, right? This if else block is independent of the above if block, right? So this check is made independently, and if this condition is not true or true, it doesn't matter, right? It will come to this if block. Then this if block, if this condition is false, it will come to this else block. So in our case, we are executing the first block, then it is checking for the second block, which is false. Hence, it executes the third block, which is the else block, right? So if you want that only one of the blocks should be executed, the way to do it is you should have a else if block. So if this condition is true, this block will not be executed even if this condition is true, right? Even if n mod 3 is divisible by 0, this block is not executed. So you can use else if block, okay, if you want only one of the blocks is executed, right? And the way to order these blocks is the first block is always a if block, then you can have multiple else if blocks, right? And followed by a else block, which is also optional, right? So what will happen in this case? Suppose I give a number 2 and give a number 4. So it says 4 is divisible by 2 and we are in the block. It looks fine. Suppose I give a number 6 now. So 6 is divisible by 2 and 6 is also divisible by 3. But we are only getting 6 is divisible by 2. Why this happens, right? This happens because only one of the blocks is executed, right? So in our case, when you're giving 6 as an input, you can see this condition is true. So only this block is executed. And if all other blocks, right? All other blocks below the block which is executed, you have a new message, are skipped. Which means even if this condition is true, this block will be skipped because you have already executed this block. So this is the control flow when you're using the else if block. So how do we correct our program? If we want that if our number should be divisible by 2, it should be divisible by 3, and we want to print if it is divisible by both. So one way is you start with the if block and you check for both. If n is divisible by 2 and n is divisible by 3, so you can say it is divisible by 2 and 3. So you are in the if block, and here you can say you are in the else if block, and you can add one more else if block here, which says if number is divisible by 2, then you will execute this statement. Okay, so let me just copy this. N is divisible by 2. One of these blocks will program, right? And if this condition is false and if this condition is true, then these won't be executed in any case. Either the condition is true or false, right? So let me see if else. Let me give the number as 3. So it's everyone. In this lecture, we will talk about while loop versus a do while loop. So let's recap what we have done in while loop. So loops in C++ or in any other programming language are used to repeat certain tasks, right? So the basic idea of loop is to repeat some instruction, some tasks n number of times, right? So for example, let's take a very simple example. Let's say you are rolling on a hill or you're doing a race on a hill and you want to run till you reach the end of the cliff, right? So let's say this is the platform and you want to run on this platform from x equals to 0, and let's say this is the end of the platform, and let's say this coordinate is x equals to 10. So the basic way how do you walk on a hill is you take one step every time and you reach the next coordinate. So you take one step, you come to this point, you again think if I have reached the end of the cliff, if not I will take one more step, you end up at x equal to 3, and this goes on as you reach the end of the hill x equals to